there camera lovers, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video is a tutorial on how to change your shutter mode on your Canon R6 Mark II. This is very important to understand because there are actually 3 different shutters on the Canon R6 Mark II, and that's because it's a mirrorless camera body. The reason why I'm making this tutorial is because this camera body is different than a lot of other camera bodies, and that's because it's mirrorless. For example, the Canon 5D Mark IV only has 1 shutter, the mechanical shutter, but the Canon R6 Mark II has 3 shutters. It has the mechanical shutter, an electronic shutter, and the electronic first curtain shutter. And this is important to understand because there are some things you can do with these certain shutters and some things you can't do with these certain shutters. So the first thing that you cannot do with the Canon R6 Mark II on the electric shutter is you cannot use flash. So if you are planning on using flash for like a wedding, reception, you put the flash on your camera, you will need to make sure that your camera is set to the mechanical shutter specifically for your R6 Mark II. So in this video today, I'm showing you within the camera settings of how I would change the shutter to mechanical, electronic, or electronic first curtain. I wanted to explain quickly why you shouldn't use the electronic shutter on your Canon R6 Mark II when you're using flash. So basically on Google, it basically says that the electronic shutter can capture bands of light when shooting under flickering light sources. So basically, it sounds like to me that if you're using flash on the Canon R6 Mark II and you have the electric shutter selected, then you might capture like bands of light, which could basically interrupt your image. Like, what if there's like lines going through your image? Like, that's not good. We don't want that. It's almost like it's too sensitive, the electronic shutter, but if you shoot with the electronic shutter on the Canon R6 Mark II while using flash, you could also deal with rolling shutter distortion, which is basically, so when the electric shutter can cause rolling shutter distortion in stills, which can distort fast-moving subjects in the final image. So let's say you're trying to photograph like a wedding, reception, dancing, and you're using the electronic shutter and you're using flash on the R6 Mark II. Basically what could happen is maybe like you're not actually getting the people in focus, like it's distorting the people because they're moving fast and the shutter maybe cannot keep up with the speed at which the flash is going. Like, I think that's kind of what it means. Also, there's a bit depth difference when shooting with the electronic shutter on the Canon R6 Mark II. Basically, when shooting in RAW with the electronic shutter, the camera saves images with a 12-bit depth, which is slightly narrower than the 14-bit depth when using a mechanical shutter. So it sounds like it doesn't capture enough bit depth to potentially keep up with capturing the images correctly. It also says on Google here that the mechanical shutter or electric front shutter curtain might support higher shutter speeds when using flash or shooting under artificial lighting. So that's just really important to keep in mind. Long story short, if you're shooting with the Canon R6 Mark II and you're using flash, just make sure it's set to mechanical shutter and you should be good to go for the whole wedding reception. All right, and now I'll get right into this quick tutorial video for you. We are looking at the back of my Canon R6 Mark II, and I'm just going to show you how to change in between the shutter modes within the settings here. So we're going to go to our camera settings by clicking menu up on the left-hand corner, and then we are going to go to camera and then 7. So it's actually already there, so camera 7. And then you are going to go down to shutter mode, and your 3 shutter modes that we have here are mechanical, electronic first curtain, and then electronic. So these are really cool different shutter modes that the Canon R6 Mark II has because literally the camera has 3 different shutters, which is kind of crazy and the cool thing about mirrorless camera bodies. And I'm actually going to be making a future video on all the different things that these 3 shutters like do and can't do because there are uses that they can and can't be used for. And I think that's really helpful to know about as a photographer. I will be making a future video talking about the pros and cons of each of these shutter modes. So that is how you would quickly change between mechanical, electronic first curtain, and electronic shutter mode. And you would just click OK to choose the one you want to use. Now I will also briefly say that you cannot use flash with electronic shutter mode, but you can use flash with mechanical or electronic first curtain shutter mode. So that's just something you should keep in mind when you are photographing with these different shutter modes. When you're using flash, use either mechanical or electronic first curtain when using flash. But then for electronic here, it also says fast moving subjects may look distorted, cannot be used Yeah, and it literally says here, cannot be used with flash photography, which could have read that at first. That's just something you want to keep in mind when you are choosing which shutter mode you need for your photography. Thanks so much for watching this tutorial video today. I hope it was helpful to you. If you liked it, then like this video and subscribe to our channel so you can come back for more tutorial videos from me. And if you want to know how to enable/disable image review on the Canon R6 Mark II, then that video is next.